What's up, YouTube? In this video, we're going to be talking about how to your budget. Now, budgeting, I feel like, is one of those things that gets a bad rep when it comes to personal finance, and I get it. I know it's not the sexiest topic. I know a lot of people want to focus on the investing side of things, but in the 7+ years that I've been doing this, literally doing this exercise with hundreds and hundreds of people, there's one major flaw that I see in a lot of people's budgets that you might be making right now. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to cover what that biggest mistake is when it comes to budgeting and how to actually go about budgeting correctly with an example at the end. So that way you know how to actually do this exercise correctly and also how it translates to your investing and building wealth faster so you can reach that goal of financial freedom sooner. So if you don't know who I am, quick intro before we dive in. My name is Jose Hernandez. I have an online financial education company that helps first-generation wealth builders, people like you and me, people that are the first person in their family to start investing or think about investing, and my mission is to help you reach your goal of financial freedom and or building generational wealth for your family. Started my career off in the financial industry as a wealth management advisor, where I got my Series 7 and 66 licenses, worked with wealthy individuals, helping them with investment management, financial planning, and got mentorship from some of the top financial advisors in the industry before deciding to move on and start my own thing, which has helped thousands of people across the world every single day with all the content and all the support I provide everyone that I work with. So that being said, let's get into today's topic, which is again how to your budget. And I think that if you stick around to the end, it's going to make a lot of sense and it's going to help you a ton in your wealth building journey. So let's start off with the first thing, which is what do people get wrong about budgets? So when people hear budget, a lot of things happen. One of them is they automatically think, well, I don't need that. I make enough money, or, I'm good enough about managing my finances. I don't really need a plan for my money. And I don't really like using the term budget with all my clients and students. I use the phrase cash flow plan because that's really what it is. It's a plan for your cash flow, what you make, what you spend, but more importantly, what you can automatically save and invest to help you build wealth. And we're going to cover that last part in some more detail throughout this video, but I want you to understand, first of all, you're probably not too advanced for a budget. Like, this is an exercise I walk through with all my clients and students, whether they make $60,000 a year or $450,000 per year. You're never too advanced for having a cash flow plan. And secondly, a budget is not about just seeing how much money I can spend. Of course, part of it is figuring out, having a plan for your expenses, and of course, the things you enjoy to do in life, going out, having fun with friends, spending time with family, vacations, all that stuff. A budget can help facilitate you planning for this stuff. But the most important part of a budget is really making sure that you're making room for investing, for building wealth, for reaching your financial goals. So what a lot of people I've seen in their budgeting do is this thing at the top that we're looking at on screen together. So you get paid, you pay your bills, you spend money after that on things you enjoy to do, like doing that is, and then you try to save and invest. And what's the problem here? Of course, there's nothing left to save or invest, even if you wanted to, right? Because all that money's already gone towards your expenses, and it's already gone towards the things that are called wants, right? The things that you want to do, not necessarily need to spend money on, which is fine. Again, there's room for that. But when you structure your finances like this, there's usually nothing or very little left at the end to save or invest. And the problem with what a lot of people's budgets is they really focus on the spending side of things, which again is only part of the budget. They don't focus enough on the save or invest part. And if you're doing this correctly, as we'll see here in a little bit with the example, you're automatically saving or investing the amount that you need to be saving or investing to be on track with reaching your goals. So let's talk about this a little bit further. What does this actually look like if you're doing it correctly with the proper budgeting? So when we do the budget correctly, again, the purpose of that budget is to figure out on average, what is that amount that we can commit to automatically investing, putting away into our investment accounts, into our savings accounts to help us grow the wealth that we need to build over time to reach that goal of financial freedom or the generational wealth for your family. Whatever your goals are, this process, if done correctly, helps us identify what is an amount that we can commit to while still making room for our mortgage and rent and bills and stuff like that, and still making room for all the things that we enjoy doing, right? It doesn't have to be you live off of rice and beans every single day. That's another misconception about cash flow planning and budgeting. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is for us to be able to systematize our finances in a way where we can automatically build wealth on autopilot while still making room for both our wants and our needs. So hopefully this is making sense. If you're wondering, okay, Jose, I got that, but like, what does this actually look like? What I want to do next is walk through a sample budget and how this can look like in your finances so you're doing this correctly. Okay, so here we're looking at an example. This is an example of a budget. This, again, is an exercise that I walk through with all my clients and students, regardless of how much money they make, regardless of how much money they have invested. This is something that you cannot afford to skip. And again, this is one of the first things that we do as soon as we start working together. In this scenario, you're going to see that this person's on average after-tax income is $9,000. That's what they're bringing home. And the purpose of a good budget, it takes into account multiple types of expenses. So in general, we have our fixed expenses. These are things that don't change. They're going to be the same amount every single month or however often we have to pay them. And then we have our variable expenses. And this is usually the stuff that we want to spend money on. Maybe it's the vacations, maybe it's sporting events, concerts, whatever. And then also some things that just come up from time to time, taking your car to get it serviced or miscellaneous stuff as well. So a good budget takes into account your fixed expenses, so like your phone bill, which usually hopefully doesn't change too much every month, your rent that usually doesn't change too much every month, etc., and also the variable expenses. So we are creating a plan for how much money we have to spend. But the real value of the budgeting exercise is, if you can see it here, and if not, I'll explain what it is. It's a basic math equation, right? We have our total income, which is what we take home from after tax from our paycheck, or if you're self-employed, from your business. And then we take that amount and subtract our expenses on average. In this scenario, this person on average has expenses around $5,242 per month. That's what they have to spend to keep the lights on and also enjoy the things they like to do, travel, entertainment. Again, all that stuff is baked into this sample budget. And then what the real value of this exercise is when you do that simple math, you take the $9,000 in total income after tax on a monthly basis, and you subtract that $5,242, we get a net amount of $3,757. So the biggest value add of this exercise is figuring out what that net amount is for you, because that net amount represents potentially the amount that you can commit to automatically investing and saving and putting away and putting to work for you. And again, a lot of people do this backwards, where they're just trying to figure out what's the most that I can spend, and they don't take into account the fact that, oh, I have to make room for investing. And a lot of times when I talk to people about investing, they're like, yeah, Jose, I know I need to be doing it, but I feel like I just don't make enough money, or things are too expensive. And sometimes those are legitimate concerns, but 9 times out of 10, I asked them, well, when's the last time you actually made a cash flow plan or actually sat down and looked at your budget? And they're like, oh, it's been some time, or I've never done it. And we actually sit down and do this, and we run the numbers. You're like, here's what you make every month. Here's on average, if you're somewhat responsible about your expenses, what that looks like. And they're usually pretty shocked as to what that net amount is. And 9 times out of 10, they had no idea where that money is going. So this is usually a big wake-up call for people. And often I find sometimes people avoid this exercise because they know they're just trying to sweep it under the rug. It's uncomfortable looking at your spending, and sometimes people feel shame about it. And that's not how I want you to feel about this at all. If anything, I think this is something to kind of get ahead of and say, oh, you know what, it is what it is. I was spending a little bit too much on X or Y, but now I see the value of, like, maybe it's $500 per month extra that I found that I can start investing with. Or maybe you make more and that's $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, right? So of course that net amount is going to depend on your income and your responsibilities and things like that. But the power of this exercise is to help you find some peace of mind to where all your expenses and responsibilities are covered, and you can, more importantly, make room for the automation of paying yourself first, like we talked about earlier, where you set it up to where once a month or every time you get paid or however often you want, part of the money that you make is automatically being sent to your investment accounts, to whatever specific accounts that you have set up for your wealth creation, and you can automate that process. So that helps you sleep better at night because, my bills are paid, I can go to the restaurant with my spouse or with kids or whatever, I can do all that stuff. And I know I'm doing enough for my future goals as well. So that's the true value of a budget. And that's what a lot of people I've found in the past kind of don't get when it comes to this exercise, because again, it's not about just trying to spend as little as possible and cut all the costs and things like that. That, can help sometimes, but it's really making room for the money that we need to be putting to work on a regular basis to help us reach our goals. All right, so now that we've looked at how this works in terms of the actual budget itself, I want to tie it back to how it relates to your investing, just to really drive home this point further for you. So here's a very simple graphic of what this could look like for someone, maybe you're a W-2 employee. Of course, if you're a business owner, this still applies to you, but we're just going to look at a basic scenario of someone that maybe works a job and gets paid maybe twice a week or once a month as a W-2 employee. So of course, you get your your paycheck, and maybe you have direct deposit set up. So that paycheck is automatically going into your personal checking account or whatever bank account you use to link the ACH transfer to. And then maybe you have, an employer sponsored retirement plan, maybe like a 401k, getting the employer match and taking advantage of that as well. That's potentially an option of how you can automate part of this process. But as you'll see here, the green arrows represent like automatic investing / savings. So once that money hits the checking account, you already have it set up to where, in our last scenario, the $3,000+ we were talking about, a good chunk of that is going automatically to our investment accounts. Maybe it's your Roth IRA, maybe it's a taxable account. If you have investments for your children, maybe it's their 529s, custodial accounts, and so on. And of course, that money is also being invested. It's not just sitting as cash. And then maybe you have a part of that money going towards something like a high yield savings account. Maybe you're working on boosting your emergency fund, or maybe you have a shorter term goal of like buying a house or purchasing an investment property, and you're working towards building up that sinking fund rather for that. So that's what that could look like. And then lastly, this red arrow represents the wants and needs category. Because again, a good budget or cash flow plan is about balance. It's about balancing the things that we have to spend money on, the things that we want to spend money on, but most important of all, paying ourselves first. In other words, making sure that we are investing and putting money to work. And if you're in a situation where you feel like, you make good money, you just feel like you don't know where it's going, or you have nothing to show for it, it's not showing up in your investment accounts, it's not showing up in your bank account, it's not showing up on your balance sheet, 9 times out of 10, I find that this is the issue. You just don't have the proper systems in place. You don't have the proper cash flow plan in place to make sure that this is working for you automatically. So just like you pay your bills on auto pay, if you can set up your investments to pay yourself first on auto pay, you're bound to build wealth, even if it's a smaller amount, or maybe you make more and it's a larger amount. In any case, the same principle applies. So the conclusion to the video is where a lot of people get kind of tied up with their budgeting is they think it's either a bad exercise because it makes them feel like, well, I don't want to live miserably and try to pinch every penny. That's not the purpose of it. And it's also not, on the flip side of that, how much money can I spend every month? That's not the purpose of the budget either. Of course, expenses are a big part of the budget. And if you're doing it correctly, you're accounting for your expenses, both your fixed and your variable costs. But the biggest value add of the budgeting exercise and the cash flow planning exercise is to figure out what is the amount that I can automatically commit to investing and saving and building my wealth on a month over month basis. And even if it's a smaller amount, right, you can always start up small and build your way up from there. And this is by far one of the best ways to start building your wealth from scratch if you're starting from zero, or if you've been investing for years now and you have a decent amount saved in your investment accounts. This is a great way to boost what you already have invested, because putting more money to work only usually speeds up that compound interest process, that snowball effect that you're looking for in your wealth building and in your investing. So if you're watching this, you're like, Jose, I get it. I know this is important. I've tried to figure this out on my own, but I don't have the time, or I just don't know how to do it. Or maybe you want to start investing, but don't know how, or you've been investing for years now and you're just not sure if you're on track, if you're going to make it. Maybe you feel overwhelmed by all the information online and you just need some help and some support. The next steps from here are simple. So in the description to this video, you're going to see a link that you can use to schedule a quick one-on-one conversation with myself. That's an opportunity for us to sit down, help me understand more about your situation, help me understand more about your goals, see what you're looking to accomplish, and that way I can point you in the right direction. So the link to that is going to be in the description to this video. You can click that to schedule a quick one-on-one with me. But that's going to be all for this video. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully this has opened your eyes to how to go about your cash flow planning and budgeting correctly. If you did find this video helpful, make sure that you give it a like, drop a comment down below as well if you found it helpful, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on more videos like this. But I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.